Hello there, folks. I want to thank you for being here for Donald and his family today. On behalf of Route Song, we truly appreciate that. Before we get started, if you do have your cell phones on you, if you could turn them on silent or turn them off, we sure would appreciate that. And in a moment, we're going to have Alex and Melissa perform a song for their grandfather. So thank you all for your attention.
What a beautiful way to start. On behalf of the family, thank you all for being here. You know, I always love to come early so I can see all the pictures that were shown, and then, you know, kind of listen in and hear the energy of the room. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. You guys are a little rowdy. But I think that matches, because I had the privilege several times to talk to Charlotte this week, and which was the highlight of my week, by the way. Just to hear how she spoke of Don, and I know the big thing that she wanted today was that this feels like a life celebration. And you know, I think in the last 10 years or so, we've really heard what we're doing here today referred to less and less as a funeral, and you're hearing it referred to more and more as a life celebration. I love that shift, because no matter how hard it is to lose someone, and I know this has been impossibly hard. I know there's been some health issues over the time, but you know, this is hard. I mean, let's just be honest. Losing someone you care a lot about is just hard. And you know, I do this. My name is Brian, and I'm a funeral celebrant, they call me. But I have a normal job, like most of you do. I'm a leadership consultant by day, but I do this for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you live here in the Dayton area, I do this primarily with the Route Song team, because they care so much about what you're going through today. So if you need something or have a question, please don't hesitate to ask someone on their team. On a personal level, I do this because a few years ago I lost my mom to cancer, and coming together like this and being here and seeing old friends and pictures and exchanging hugs and stories is such a huge part of the healing process. So again, thank you so much for being here. I know this has been a long week for the family. They had a service out where they live and earlier this week, but it was so important for them to be able to honor the Dayton chapter of their story. So thank you so much for being here. I'm a big reader, and one of my favorite authors is a guy named Frederick Bachman. And I was reading one of his books the other night, and this paragraph just kind of jumped off the page. And so I got up and I typed it out because I thought it was so accurate. He said, over time I've realized that deep down almost everyone asks themselves the same sort of questions about life, especially as we get a little older. We ask ourselves, am I good? Have I made anyone proud? Am I useful to society? Am I good at my job? Am I considered generous and considerate? Does anyone want me to be their friend? Have I been a good parent? Am I a good person? And ultimately, we ask ourselves the question, did my life even matter? And you guys are showing in such a strong way today that Don's life mattered. And it sounds to me from the story that I had the privilege to hear, Don could go down that list and check yes, 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 and yes to all of those big questions. You know, I'm a big believer in something that I call holy collisions. And what I mean by that is if you think back over the course of our lives, there are a few times when we are lucky enough to run into the exact right person at the exact right time of our lives for the exact right reason that we were supposed to run into that person. I don't know how it works. That's way above my pay grade, but I believe it happens all the times. And sometimes we're just going so fast we don't even get to see it. And you might be sitting next to one of your holy collisions right now. And you think back to that first moment you met. You know, who talked to who first, and what was it you saw in each other that pushed through all the layers and has ended up the significant relationship that it is today. And if you think about it, we can set aside all of our accomplishments, all of our possessions, all that kind of stuff. And what life really boils down to are those holy collisions, significant relationships. And whenever I have the privilege to do a service like this, I consider this group sitting in this chapel on this Saturday, we're our own version of a holy collision. You cannot explain why this group of human beings would ever be at the same place at the same time. And yet here we are. And let's be honest. When we parked our cars a little bit ago, we all have things we're worried about. We have decisions we're trying to make. There might be something going on in your life that nobody else in this room is even aware of. And all those things are going to be waiting for us when we get back in our cars in a little bit. So my hope and my prayer is that by the time we go back and get in our cars, we're going to have a little bit better appreciation, a little bit different bounce in our step, simply because we took a few minutes out to listen to Don's story. And I think that's entirely possible. And that's what a life celebration does. Don's story still has the potential to affect our story. And that's our prayer here today. So before I go any further, if you're comfortable joining me, I'd like to ask you if you would join me in a word of prayer. Okay? Let's pray. God, thank you so much for bringing this holy collision of friends and family together. It's just what an impact. And I thank you for the effort that's gone into making sure that both of Don and Charlotte's homes are represented and their circles of influence. And God, I don't understand how you do it, but I absolutely believe that you can look down in a room like this and you know what every person in this room is going through. And I pray that in the few moments we have to celebrate Don's life, that we will see something or hear something or feel something that will make a difference by the time we go back and rejoin our busy lives. So God, thank you for bringing us together today. It's in your name I pray. Amen. Don's story started 77 years ago. He was born on March the 30th, 1947, and kind of one of those things that makes you scratch your head, died also on his birthday. And what a story. You know, one of his best holy collisions is this beautiful lady sitting right down here. And I got to hear this. One of my favorite things is when I come up alongside a family I don't know, one of the favorite things that I always get to hear is how they met. And she told me that they were 17 and 18 years old when they met. And if, Charlotte, if I get any of this wrong, throw a water bottle at me or something and correct me. But Don's aunt and uncle lived next door to your parents. They were building a house, so they were only going to be there temporarily. And during the time that they lived there, when Don would come over to visit, they never met. But apparently Don's uncle spotted Charlotte and kept hinting at Don, you know, there's a girl next door you need to pay attention to. But it wasn't until after they built their house and invited Charlotte's family to come over and see the house. And she made it plain to me when she told me the story, she did not want to go. She absolutely did not want to go, but it was that day that they spotted each other. And the funny part of that was that Charlotte thought that Don's sister was his girlfriend. So she was already taken. So she kind of stayed back and just kind of let things go. She found out the truth, though. And then they started talking a little bit, and he finally asked her out for a date. They went to see The Sound of Music. And I don't know what happened during The Sound of Music, but The Sound of Love also started to take place. And she told me that on the way home, she said to herself, I'm going to marry that boy. And you know, listen, that story, all the layers of where his aunt and uncle lived and the random chance that they ever met, and yet the fact that they met led to over 57 years together. And it changed the history of this family. This family doesn't exist if that young boy hadn't asked this beautiful girl out on a date. And for the next few minutes, I'm going to get out of the way because the people that know him absolutely the best are going to share their relationship. First, Mark is going to come up, and then Melissa, and then Michelle, and then I'm going to follow that by reading something that Cheryl has written. So, Mark.
So I want to thank everyone for coming to my father's services. Lost my dad was sudden, completely unexpected. The prayers, the texts, the Facebook posts, the phone calls, the visitations provided much needed comfort to our family. The outpouring of support and love is helping our family navigate this extremely difficult time. My dad certainly touched many lives. My dad died at the age of 77 on his birthday, March 30, 2024. He was born in Dayton, Ohio on March 30, 1947. He was predeceased by his parents, Harold and Vivian Ruth Mazak, and his sister, Sandra Marie Reich. Surviving are his wife of 57 years, my mom, Charlotte. He has 3 children, myself, my wife, Kim. We're from Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. My sister Melissa and her husband Robert of Washington, New Jersey. My sister Michelle and her husband Dr. Carl of Roanoke, Virginia. He had 5 beautiful grandchildren that he was definitely proud of. My daughter Alyssa, Christopher Camerata, my nephews, Dylan Musser, my son Alex, my niece Caitlin Musser, and he had one niece, Jennifer Cox, and her beautiful children, Jonathan, Brendan, Jasmine, and Chloe. My dad graduated from Fairmont West High School in Kettering, Ohio. He got a systems engineering degree from Rice University and his master's of engineering in telecommunications at Stephen Institute of Technology. He started working after high school at Ohio Bell, and the next year he began his service in the United States Army on July 30, 1966, and was honorably discharged on April 25, 1972. Following basic training, he was stationed at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. That's where I was born. I'm the only one in my family born in New Jersey, other than my family, immediate family, for a 30-week course in tropospheric microwave repair. He did so well in that course that he was actually chosen to teach the course afterwards. And he was actually awarded a United States Army Signal Corps Outstanding Instructor Award for the year 1967-1968. He then was sent to Da Nang, Vietnam in April 1968. He served till April 1969. with the 337th Company of the 1st Signal Brigade. In recognition of his service, he received the National Defense Service Medal, the Marksman M14, the Vietnam Commemorative Medal, and the Vietnam Service Medal, and 2 overseas bars. My dad was very proud of his service. With the assistance of the GI Bill, he completed his bachelor's in engineering while working full-time and supporting his family. And that always amazed me, having 3 small children, full-time job, and an engineering degree, like in 4 or so years. I found it quite impressive. And when people tell me they can't do things, I always bring up my dad. I'm like, you have 3 small children, full-time job, and he went to college in 4 years, so you can definitely achieve your goals if you work hard towards it. AT&T supported his completion of his master's degree in engineering program and studies towards a doctorate in physics. At Ohio Bell, he was part of the 12 teams that developed the cellular service that we're all used to today. He was basically involved in that from the ground up. And I remember as a kid, he would always talk to me. He's like, someday we're going to walk around with phones. And I thought it was crazy. So here we are. His group was consolidated in New Jersey in 1982, and that's when we moved to New Jersey. When the Bell system broke up, he then transitioned to AT&T's satellite engineering. And then for the rest of his career at AT&T, he was doing all sorts of executive presentations for dignitaries and executives from across the world. My dad had a lot of hobbies. One of his big ones was amateur radio. He was a lifetime member of the National Amateur Radio League and a member of the North Jersey DX Association, the West Jersey DX Group, Cherryville Repeater Association, and the Frankfurt Radio Club. His love for amateur radio began when he was a 12-year-old Boy Scout, when he built his first radio. And this led to his career choice in communications. He continued his ham radio hobby, connecting with others all around the world. And his most recent call signal was NRQH. He also belonged to the New Jersey Astronomical Association. He enjoyed giving presentations to the public about telescopes, planets, and space. He was very interested in weather and climate change. He had a half a dozen or so weather apps on his phone. He'd always tell you what's going on everywhere with the weather. He was an avid bowler at Oakwood Lanes. I think he started bowling there in like 1981 or 82 when we moved to New Jersey. And he also recently had been volunteering as election poll worker for Huntington County. As kids, he coached my baseball team. He coached my sister's soccer teams. He also started the first girls traveling soccer team in Huntington County. And due to his efforts with other parents, the first girls varsity soccer team at Huntington Central High School was formed during my sister's senior year. He also was a referee for the United States Soccer Federation. Him and my mom enjoyed RVing to national parks. They cruised all over the world. They went to Scotland and Ireland and hiking in Utah were some of the highlights. They definitely checked off things on their bucket list. My dad was very generous. He was kind. He was there for anyone who needed anything. His intelligence, energy, and childlike curiosity were amazing. He had a pure soul and was the friendliest person you would ever want to meet. My son Alex recently achieved the Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts. My dad was very proud of that. My father was also a Boy Scout as a young boy. Although he did not achieve the Eagle rank, he certainly upheld the 12 points of the Scout Law. And I believe these points, these 12 points of the Boy Scout Law, summarize how my dad lived his life. These are the points. First of all, trustworthy. Tell the truth and keep promises. People can depend on you. Loyal. Show that you care about your family, your friends, your leaders, and your country. Helpful. Volunteer to help others without expecting a reward. Friendly. Be a friend to everyone, even people who are very different from you. We go to Rutgers football games, and my dad would know everybody we're sitting around. He would talk to them. I'd be like, Dad, they're going to watch the game, so. Courteous. Be polite to everyone. Always use good manners. Kind. Treat others as you want to be treated. Obedient. Obey the laws of your community and your country. Cheerful. Look for the bright side of life. Cheerfully do tasks that come your way. Try to help others be happy. Thrifty, worked to pay your own way. Brave, definitely was brave, serving in Vietnam. Face difficult situations even when you feel afraid. Do what you think is right despite what others might be doing or saying. Clean, keep your body and mind fit. Reverent, be reverent towards God. Be faithful in your religious duties. Respect the belief of others. He upheld all 12 of those points. I have many memories of my dad. These are just a few. Living in Xenia, Ohio, and surviving the infamous tornado on April 3, 1974, 50 years ago this past Wednesday. My dad was at work or school when it happened, and I think he must have been terrified, not knowing if his family was safe. This was before cell phones. There was no way that he would know. And as a father, I couldn't imagine that feeling, if your family's safe or not. He must have been really scared. Family camping trips to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in the small camper that he pulled. Driving around with small kids in the back of his gold Chevy Chevelle. Later, his 1974 Pinto. That was my first car. The Chevy Chevelle had slippery vinyl seats. There were no seatbelts back there, so my sisters and I would slide back and forth around turns, bending into each other. I remember that being fun. Moving to Centerville, Ohio as my dad succeeded in his career, we lived in a beautiful neighborhood. We met new friends that we are still in contact with today. I remember throwing baseballs often with my dad in the yard. Going to Cincinnati Reds games, we would always miss the first inning because my dad would miss the turn for the stadium. We would have to cross the bridge into Kentucky and turn around, but we still had the best time though. Moving us to New Jersey for a completely different life. At first, I held resentment because we left family and friends. As I matured, I realized he was doing what was best for his family. I eventually admired that decision because it opened up so many opportunities and experiences that maybe my sisters and I would not have had. I thank him for his courage to make that move. Coaching many baseball and soccer teams for my sister and I. Rutgers football. My dad loved going to the games. My sister, brother-in-law Bobby, Christopher, my son Alex, and I would go with him. He really enjoyed going to Rutgers football. Recently, it's just been my dad and I. I thoroughly enjoyed those games with him. It was one small way to stay connected with him. It meant a lot to him and also to me. Those are just some random memories that crossed my mind while writing this. There are so many more. We will deeply miss him. However, I know that we will see him again. My dad is truly Jesus. That fact gives me peace and comfort even through this difficult time. Thank you all for coming to our care.
I'm going to read you what I wrote to my dad on his 70th birthday. Again, everything is phone and apps. I posted this on his Facebook page. I'm so proud to call you my dad. When I look back on growing up, I realize you were always there for us. I remember the constant handstands and walking around on your hands, lying on the floor in front of the TV, popping popcorn the old-fashioned way, feeling secure when there was a tornado warning and you were home, being able to fall asleep easily on road trips since you were the driver and would keep us safe, camping in Tennessee and you taking us on the water slides, taking so much time to put together a girls' soccer team for Michelle and I when there was none in New Jersey, coaching us and all our friends and bearing with all the talkback, and boy did us girls give it to you. Leaving work early to make the high school games our senior year when we finally got a girls' team there. Going on all your business trips and looking forward to what you would bring home for us. Teaspoons from the different places you'd gone, tiny teacups and saucers, visiting you in California, countless memories I will treasure. Looking back, I realize you were always there for us, even if my memory fades. I see how you are with kids today, your grandchildren, nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews, and they all love you and have so much fun with you. You're goofy, silly, we'll play with them, and they keep coming back for more. There was a time growing up where, like any kid, you annoyed and embarrassed me. Your ham radio, WAADSQ, is emblazoned in my brain, and I can hear you repeating it over and over as I remember trying to watch TV. It's funny now, I'm proud that you have that skill and hobby, and often find myself mentioning it. Hey, my dad talked to the King of Jordan, or a country singer, or he was able to listen to the astronauts. I'm proud you also taught Morse code in the Army. Speaking of the Army, I am also proud that you are a veteran. Growing up, I was always afraid to ask you about it because the pain it might bring from that part of your life. I wish I had asked you more, but nonetheless, I'm proud you served our country during the Vietnam War and came home to Mommy and Mark and built the life you have today. I'll leave the asking part up to Christopher. As I recall, when we were in DC for spring break, I overheard my son asking you, what kind of rifles and guns did you use in Vietnam? I'm proud now, but embarrassed then, that you never met a stranger, as Mommy would say. You always can talk to anyone, and oftentimes growing up, you were talking about us, you, your wife, and family. I realize it's because you are a proud man. You worked so hard to overcome and better your life and provide for us. Why not be proud of that? You had a very successful career, going to school at night to get your degrees, while all along taking care of us. I don't ever remember you saying no to, can I have movies to go to the mall or to the movies? You provided. Knowing now with my own child, I realize, of course, you were proud. Life with your kids and wife is the most important thing. You find joy in every day with the ones you love. Thank you for bringing so much joy to my life, and I wish you the happiest of birthdays today. We will celebrate at dinner tonight. Love you forever and always, your daughter, Melissa. The hard part being only 3 minutes younger, having to go last. Genuine, intelligent, kind, giving, friendly, accomplished, gracious, beautiful, inspirational, funny, selfless, strong, loving, one of a kind, a great talker, and everybody in here, we know, you know, he's a great talker and much more. Simply put, Daddy was the best husband, best dad, best pa, best papa, best uncle, best brother, best friend, best animal lover, and more. Family was everything to Daddy. For 42 years, he spent Tuesday nights with his bowling family. He even went bowling on my mom and dad's 20th wedding anniversary because it was a Tuesday night. I love that he had that passion, except as a teenage girl when he got Melissa and I bowling balls and bowling shoes for Christmas. Amateur radio was his life passion, but how do you explain to your middle school friends what is happening when an 18-wheeler tractor trailer is backing into your driveway with an enormous antenna? And how do you explain to your neighbors that Daddy is talking with people from around the world when he's messing up their TV shows and interrupting their phone calls with beep, 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 beep. He made everything right by putting filters on their TVs and phones. Friends used to ask us, don't you want to get cable? I tell my friends, If my dad asks you to go in the basement, just say no, as I wouldn't see them for a few hours. I would give anything for Daddy to ask me to go to the basement today. I wonder how many miles Daddy drove in his car to help people. He certainly put lots of miles on 81, taking me back and forth to Virginia Tech. I remember my freshman year that he packed my dorm room while I was taking my last final. When I got back to my dorm room, he said, "Do you realize I just packed over 50 sweaters?" And I'd like to live for him in the future. And I know he drove back and forth to help anyone here in Ohio for anything we ever need. He never had hesitated to help me move every single time. Carl and I have moved 5 times. He drove all over the country helping us with those moves. My mom said he would even drive nurses to and from work when they were stuck in the snow. I'm sorry, I wrote one other thing on my phone that I want to read too. Daddy embraced technology wholeheartedly. We all know that he had at least 10 iPhone apps on his phone that alert him about the weather for every location that a relative lived. He always knew when it was about to rain in Roanoke, and I'm sure in Ohio too. He always knew what the weather was like. He was always looking at his phone. I think all of us in this room are so thankful for that because we have so many memories and moments that he captured by taking pictures from his perspective. And I can't wait to explore all of his pictures from his perspective once we can actually break into his computer that is locked down like Fort Knox. His password is probably 26 digits long. We'll figure that out. He thoroughly embraced astronomy. I had no plans to see the solar eclipse this year, but I'm now thankful that I'm here and I'll be able to view it at Daddy's graveside. I'm thankful that Daddy posted on Facebook. I'm especially thankful for his FaceTime. I almost always FaceTime Mom and Daddy because I don't get to see them that often. So I always wanted to see their faces. Dad may not have always expressed his feelings with words, but we all knew how much he loved us through what he did for others. And oh, how actions speak louder than words. Living so far away, I've lived away since 1989. Living so far away is really hard. I wish I could have hugged Daddy one more time. Talk to Daddy one more time. But I will look for the signs as I know you are with me. I will carry you in my heart, and I'll look up at the stars, and I'll think of you always.
Thank you, guys. What an amazing tribute. Charlotte wrote down some thoughts too. She said, "Thank you for being the kind, decent, generous, pure soul who never met a stranger. I've always felt safe, loved, and protected by you. You gave me the best life that I could have ever imagined. You have lived a life of honor and dedication to the family we created. Your energy, enthusiasm, and passion were something to behold. You threw your whole being into whatever you were doing. You relished new challenges like a child. Some way I will survive, but my heart is broken. I feel lost. You took care of me, and I took care of you. I am so thankful for the memories of our adventures and the pictures of you. Barcelona Soccer Stadium, Panama Canal, the Mayan ruins of Mexico, the Colosseum, Pompeii, the Vatican in Italy, London Bridge, plus our January 23 visit to Australia and New Zealand. I have pictures of you holding Alaskan sled puppies, lambs, and herding puppies in Scotland and Ireland. Our RV adventures included 30 national parks across the country. We completed our bucket list in June 2022 by hiking in Utah's 5 top national parks. I cannot imagine my life without you. You were my world. When I see our children and grandchildren, I see you. Your legacy will live on through them. You spoke of how proud you were of them. We both marveled at how great they were. You said they'd take after us. So spread your angel wings and fly, my sweetheart. If anyone deserves heaven, you do. My time with you has flown. I wanted to keep you longer, but your earthly body said no. I will go on loving you and treasuring all the sweet memories that I had of you. I will see you once again as promised by our Heavenly Father. What a beautiful tribute. And guys, I get to do this a lot. And I have been for 30 years. I don't ever remember a time where I heard so much honor and dignity and love coming from a family as I have heard coming from this family. You know, as Charlotte told me their story together, I'm like, he squeezed about 153 years into his 77 years. I'm like, where did all of his energy come from? And Charlotte said he's just been that way since the moment that she knew him. And I was just marveled at every drop that he was able to squeeze out of life. You know, when I walk into a room and I see our flag and the uniform, and I suspect there may be a few other in here today that have served our country, we do not do a good enough job in our country of saying thank you. And so on behalf of all of us, thank you. And to Don, I know that it was a big part of his life and something he was very proud of and should have been. But just kept going and doing, and the balance he had between work and making sure that the kids were taken care of, and the coaching and the traveling with Charlotte, all of it. That's what life is really supposed to be. And you know, the hard part about loving someone so deeply is it just hurts that much more. You know, I have 3 kids, and I was with my middle son, Elijah. It was January the 2nd, 2023. And as soon as I say which night it was, most of you will know, because that night the Cincinnati Bengals were getting ready to play the Buffalo Bills. And it was a big thing in this part of the country. We're not used to Cincinnati doing good things, and that was a big thing. And you all know that came to a screeching halt the moment that young Damar Hamlin hit the turf. And whether you're a sports fan or not, it would be almost impossible not to know some level of that story, because it literally traveled around the globe. Other than watching 9/11, I don't think I ever remember watching anything more surreal than what happened. I couldn't leave. I couldn't stop watching. It was like 60,000 fans were silent. Professional broadcasters didn't know what to tell us. These young athletes in the prime of their life were pacing and crying, and because that's what loss does. It just shakes us to our core. And I don't think in the next couple of days I ever remember hearing so much about prayer and miracles. It was everywhere. And it worked, because on Wednesday, if you know the story, Damar Hamlin woke up. And he couldn't talk because of the tubes in his throat, but he could write, and they gave him a whiteboard and a marker, and reportedly the first thing that he wrote down was, did we win the game? And in a moment of profound wisdom, the doctor dealing with Damar Hamlin said, you did. Damar, you win. We didn't even finish that other game. After hearing Don's story, I have no doubt Jesus Christ looked him in the eyes and said, well done. Well done. You win. I mean, in every way that we do the math, Don's life mattered. He did it right. And you guys are all the testament to that. You said, Charlotte, to me on the phone, and what you just wrote, you're going to see him again. I absolutely, with everything in me, believe that. I don't know how it works. I don't know where it is, but I do believe that this life is only chapter 1, and there is another chapter. And if you share that belief on any level today, then on a day like today, you don't have to say goodbye to Don, to your husband, to your dad, to your grandpa, to your friend. You can simply say and mean it. Don, we'll see you later. I would like to close my time with a reading that I hope brings honor to the way that Don and Charlotte have lived their life, because it's going to ask us all questions, because we still all have time. We get to go back and get in our cars, and we all have people watching how we do it, how we get through the good times and the bad times and everything in between. So this reading says that if I were to die today, would I be proud of the life that I lived? If I died tomorrow, was I happy? Would I be proud of the person that I've become? Was there love in my life? Have I given enough love? Did I show those I love the real me? Did I live the life that I wanted to live? Could I have done things differently or better? Will anyone miss me? What will I leave behind? Will anyone on earth be better because I was there? Because the truth is, not one of us sitting in this room right now knows for sure that we're going to wake up tomorrow. We did not walk into this room with that guarantee. So, if you don't like who you've been up to this moment, make a change and make it today. If you have a broken relationship with someone you really love, mend it today. If you can give more love, give it now. If you can play more and work less, decide and commit to do that now. If you can do anything to improve the quality of your life, make that commitment today. Write down everything that you can change in your life, everything that cannot wait for tomorrow, every phone call that you need to make, every apology you need to give, every hug that you can give away. Decide to stop caring so much about what other people may think or how they might react to you, that you decide to wake up every day like Don did and live the very best version of yourself. So start living the life you really want to live. Start feeling the way that you deserve to feel. Start loving the way that you want to love. Think about how much better all of our relationships would be if we could get up every day when we're our true self, when we're present, living in the moment. So get excited about your life. Love your life while you're still living it. Because for all of us, our new life starts now. And in my opinion, that's the best way to celebrate a life well lived. And if Don could somehow miraculously be standing where I'm standing, knowing what he now knows, I think he'd give us all the same advice. Y'all get a life and live it every single day. Thank you for allowing Sam and I to be part of your holy collision today. I'm going to close with prayer, and then the guys are going to come up and play another beautiful song for us, and then Sam will come and dismiss us. So let's pray, okay? God, again, thank you for letting us hear the story of a man who cherished life and was wise enough to be able to see what was important to him, to his family. I'm sure there were hard decisions, not popular decisions along the way. But I get to hear the story of a man who had a vision for his family, what he wanted his marriage to be like, what he wanted his kids to be like, what he wanted himself to be like. And God, I pray that as we leave here today, we can have those same values ringing in our own ears. In your name we pray these things. Amen.
This does conclude the service here at the funeral home today. In a moment, we're going to be going to Valley View Memorial Garden. So we'd just like to remind you that when we are in procession and on our way there, just remember to have your bright headlights on and emergency flashers so we can arrive there safely. We're going to be dismissing from the back row forward if you'd like to have the last leave of Don's casket. Thank you. Additionally, if you are a pallbearer, I'd like to meet with you up front here in just a moment. So if you're a pallbearer, if you could start to make your way towards me, please.